Welcome back. Well, not too long ago in the Orange County Register, there was a very good article about when it comes to planning for a loved one or maybe yourself with a mortuary, that often there's not much transparency in pricing, and sometimes you're not quite sure what you're getting set up for yourself. Well, that's not true with O'Connor Mortuary. In fact, today we have Neil O'Connor on, who was interviewed in that article, and Becky Lamacca is here today as well. Good to see you both.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good to see you, Becky. Nice to see you today. And that article I read, it was about a month ago or something like that. And this is something that you have talked about in the past, and you know, we certainly don't not want to denigrate a whole industry.
Sure.
But you yourself in that article was saying, you know what, you guys have always taken upon yourself to be upfront, and you would like to see other mortuaries and these type of services do the same. Am I right? Even though they may be you know, competitors, that's not the point. You want people to know what things are going to cost wherever they may go.
Well, I'm for transparency. It was an interesting day. I got a phone call and they said there's a reporter on the Register that wants to talk to you. And I picked up the phone and said, you know, introduced myself. Said, I just needed to ask you one question. Well, an hour later we got off the phone. And really what she was referring to, there was another article that stemmed to her writing this article on the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, wanting to mandate our funeral profession, if you have an online presence or website, that you have to display your pricing. She said, what's your opinion on it? I said, well, I'm going to give you my personal opinion on why we do it, and then I'm going to give you a counter opinion why I think it should be up to the individual firm or mortuary or funeral home. Personally, my shopping habits, my wife, and most people I know, when you're looking for a product or service and you go online, is usually the first place you start. If they don't have enough information, I move on and find another company.
100% right.
And that's just my habit. So that's why I think it's important. We have different plans on our website depending on, it could be your faith, could be cremation, could be burial. And then the other counterpoint, I think, I said to the reporter, I said, if the FTC is going to regulate every profession to put online pricing, then great. But if you're just pinpointing to the funeral service profession and mandating they are, I disagree with that. That should be up to the corporation or the owner's discretion how they want to run their business. No one wants the government, the federal government, to dictate a micro portion of your business. So that was really my perspective, and little did I know it would turn into a full piece on the business section of Orange County Register, which you know, it's just always interesting. So a question can turn into something larger than you imagine.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, Becky, I think that you would agree with this. Whether or not you are looking at the future and planning things out, or unfortunately a loved one passes away suddenly and you have to quickly figure things out, nobody wants that extra burden of how much is this going to cost? You know, am I going to be also strapped with a huge cost that I'm not at least aware of? Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. And I think especially when you're calling a mortuary, a loved one has died, and when people are grieving, they're in a fog. Their world has just been turned upside down. So I think with Neil's philosophy and having everything right there, it is very easy for our staff to walk them through and not just verbalize what pricing is, but let me take you to our website. Here it is. Here is the plan. They can visually see it. Right. It will help them remember. If they forget, they say, oh gosh, I know they showed me on the website. I can go back to that. You know, we're not dealing with the individual who is out buying a car. We're dealing with people who are in the throes of grief, and that is affecting their cognition. So I think that really helps them be able to remember what we're saying and know that what they're doing is a good choice.
Do you find that sometimes in general, no matter what you're buying, when it comes around to price, unless it's like, you know, you're mentioning buying a car, the price is there, you're going to haggle a little bit, you kind of know where you're starting from. But in many things, especially like this, people are hesitant to ask about price because sometimes they feel, well, my loved one just passed away. I don't want to seem cheap here, but on the other hand, you know, there's a real cost to them, and everyone has a different price point and what they can truly afford. Am I right?
Actually, just the opposite. What we found to be true is most people, so if I had a death in my family, and maybe you're my brother-in-law or a good friend, I would say, would you mind calling and getting some information for me? Rarely does the true next of kin, sometimes non-immediate family members are calling. And myself as well would not know what to ask other than price. So the conversation goes someplace, how much is it going to cost? And then we have to get into a conversation that, well, we are absolutely willing and want to share any information with you. We have it on our website, but do you know what your family or friends are tasking you, or what type of ceremony or ritual they want? So when we get to that point where we know, because some people, as you know, have a specific path depending on their history or tradition. Some people have no idea. We measure every phone call literally, because my philosophy, it's not mine, but what we've learned is you can't manage what you can't measure. So every time we get a phone call, and most people call to ask price, we see how well that conversation goes. Do we set an appointment? Do we serve the family? Half the time, if we share with them who we are, what we stand for, what our philosophies are, how we serve people, people put price over here and say, you know what, I've heard enough. Because what they're really asking, instead of cost, and that is important, don't get me wrong, is can I trust you? Can you help me? How can I trust you? So we try and answer that on a very proactive way. Let me share with you what we can do to help you. And I think that's more comforting than dollars and cents, even though a budget and money needs to be known. But most people, if you lead them properly and politely, professionally, will allow you to set an appointment so you can, literally, it is an education. And most of our appointments, this may be a little alarming to people, can be 2 to 3 hours, because you know what people don't realize is the level of detail we go through. This is an event, this is a ceremony equal to a wedding. Most people plan a wedding 6 to 12 months out. The average cost for a wedding in Orange County is about $25,000 to $45,000, depending on what your budget is. So it's a very important thing you think about. What I always say is, knowledge is powerful. What you do with it is even more powerful.
And Becky Neal brought up a good point. There are times where you're going to deal with folks who maybe have not planned things out. They may not even have determined exactly which path to take, even to the point, do they want a burial, do they want a cremation, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that is surprising to a lot of people when they call and they don't know what else to ask, so they ask pricing, and our staff engage in a conversation with them. Our staff are very relational, and even over the phone, we hear so many times from the families we serve that they feel the compassion and the care, and a lot of times they don't even realize, gosh, that is exactly what I needed. I needed somebody to offer condolences to me. I needed somebody to talk me through exactly what happens here at this mortuary. What do you do? And so, you know, really spending time with the family to help them see the value in the service that we're giving them also.
And you offer every single level, and I know, I remember one time you came on, you just had something like, I think you called it like a memory box or something like that. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
And of course, perhaps somebody wants to do something out of state, you can work with them, you work with other mortuaries and funeral homes throughout the country if need be, right?
So, you know, there's different paths for everyone, as I say, for ritual ceremonies. So there's not one set path. What I find is the most important thing I can share with our community is do your due diligence, hopefully well in advance. We are obviously advocates for advanced planning or pre-planning. Figure out what needs to be figured out. Through every other milestone in life, we do figure out births, anniversaries, weddings, holidays. So we talk about it, we think about it, we budget for it, and compare. It's very healthy. Most people do research nowadays. They will not just call us, they will call other mortuaries to see who has the best value to them. We may or may not be worthy of someone's choice. It may be someone else in the community, and that's okay, as long as you do your due diligence.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously it's hard to plan for something like that for obvious reasons, but you know, I encourage anyone to at least sit down with you or with Becky or any other member of your staff, just to kind of see what maybe how to get started in this, and maybe just get a few little questions asked. And even if you kind of write that down somewhere and you put it in a folder, it gives someone direction.
Right.
Am I right?
Right.
Which can be, it can be quite helpful.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
The website is, I think it's very easy, o'connormortuary.com. And if you'd like to call them, 949-382-7782. And I've known Neil, I've known Becky as well for many, many years. I trust both of them. Your family's been doing this for
Since
quite a long-
1898.
Yeah, so
That's right.
I think they kind of understand not only the business but the community very, very well. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so
girls.
much.
Becky,
Thank
good
you.
to see you.
Good to see you.
Have a great day.
Take care.
Thank you very much.
We will be right back.